Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR, is not only designed to help police officers. One of the first uses for EMDR was in the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorders in combat veterans.
Now draw a picture of the bad dream or nightmare, and the rest of you draw a picture of what is now the worst memory of the war.
While visiting Germany in 1998 to do EMDR training, psychologists Sandra Wilson and Robert Tinker were approached to work with some of the youngest victims of post-traumatic stress.
We were approached by the sole psychologist in the refugee camp saying, these children are not eating and sleeping, they're having nightmares and flashbacks, they're really traumatized, and we have very limited resources to help them. Can you do something to help?
Think of
a happy, safe place.
They didn't have the time to administer EMDR individually, so Tinker came up with a group approach.
We had children, first of all, set up a safe place, and then it's any place that they can think of and get a mental picture of, and then they would draw a picture of that safe place. And then they would engage in alternate left-right tapping until that image felt extremely safe to them. On a scale from 0 to 10, it would be an 8 to 10 in terms of their feeling of safety. We had them tap on their shoulders or upper arms alternately, left-right, and we called this the butterfly hug. And so they would tap until the picture felt really safe.
Remember to keep tapping.
Tinker believes that tapping helps both halves of the brain communicate and reprocess trauma.
Then we asked them to draw a picture of their worst memory of the war. They drew pretty horrific pictures of houses burning. They had all seen their houses burned down. They drew pictures of tanks, of soldiers shooting weapons at people. So we would have them draw the picture and then tap with the butterfly hug until the picture in their mind changed. And then they would draw the new picture. And then tap again until the picture in their mind changed. And then they would draw the new picture. And so what we tended to see is a gradual evolution of these pictures from being horrific to being much more positive over a space of 3 days.
It's all scary. It's got its arms up and with its mouth open.
Back in Colorado Springs, Colorado, since 1992, Tinker has been treating children who suffer from other forms of trauma, children like Matthew Dalton.
He was raised by his natural parents for about the first 2 years of his life, and then he was removed from the home because of neglect and abuse. So bring up that picture of the ghost.
Okay.
And then the thought I could die. And then the feelings of being scared and where you feel them in your body and head. Follow my fingers. That's good. Good.
Matthew's adopted parents were desperate when they brought him to Tinker in 1999. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing seemed like a long shot, but it was a shot.
Matt had just celebrated his 8th birthday when he began visiting our home and when we started thinking about having him move in with us and adopting him. And what we noticed about Matt right away was his sense of humor and his kindness. But often he would exhibit a lot of anxiety and would have trouble controlling his emotions.
I used to punch the kids if they said mean things about my parents and stuff. I used to get in lots of fights. I don't get in as many, but I do get in some.
It could be really frustrating, looking at it from our point of view and say, well, why should he be so angry?
Blank out your mind, take a deep breath.
Matt was only 3 years old and had already been taken away from his birth parents when his first foster father fired a gun at him.
This is the application of EMDR in a very complex situation with a multiply traumatized child. He was traumatized by the early neglect and abuse. He was traumatized by being fired at by a gun by a foster dad. And again, when he was about 3 years old, his birth parents were killed, died after an automobile accident that happened late at night.
This is Matt's first EMDR session.
We'll stop and bring up your safe place. We'll also finish our session today by using the safe place so you can leave feeling safe and happy and proud of yourself.
One of the things that was always troublesome is that Matt always was afraid of one of his foster fathers, that the foster father would come and find him. And we couldn't seem to, no matter what we did, it seemed like he was always afraid no matter what we said. And we thought when we moved to Denver that he would be far enough away so it would no longer be a fear to him. But it was almost like he packed him in his suitcase and brought him with.
We're saying there's a physical information processing system that's supposed to take disturbing events to mental health. You learn from it and you let go the negative.
Northern California psychologist Francine Shapiro developed EMDR in the late 80s as an alternative treatment for trauma.
But if that system becomes imbalanced, if there's a block in that system, then the old experiences just retain all of the negativity and all of the negative form.
After a few follow-up sessions, Cynthia and Robert see a world of difference in their son.
After the EMDR, he has never been afraid or mentioned the foster father again, unless it's something that we have brought up. So, I mean, that was really quite amazing.
So the person isn't fighting themselves anymore, saying, I can remember I'm safe, I'll just use my self-control technique to get rid of the anxiety. But it's rather the anxiety isn't there, and they know why it's not there.
He is a real outgoing kid, and he likes to joke around and play around.
And Matt likes the changes his new behavior has brought to the family.
It makes me just cheerful and I guess happy.
Typically, patients need 1 to 3 sessions at a cost of about $100 each. Shapiro estimates that more than 2 million people have been treated with EMDR worldwide.
The new guidelines for the International Society for Traumatic Stress Studies have declared it an effective psychotherapy for post-traumatic stress disorder. It's widely used throughout the world. There are clinicians trained in 65 countries. It's used in VA centers. It's used for the FBI uses it as a treatment of choice. It's basically has a very global reach because of the amount of suffering that's there.
Yeah, it's been kind of an amazing experience to learn about EMDR and then to see some of the results we've seen with Matt.
Makes me feel happy when we get along.